one of the first things people notice about the new Velvet Room attendants is the fact that she doesn't have yellow eyes. That's a problem because every other attendant in the series has had them. In fact, it's one of the few traits they all share. So naturally, fans started speculating, is she really an attendant or maybe she's an imposter? Most people agree though that it's not just a random design choice, and everyone is waiting to see what her story will reveal. But what if I told you that the answer is already here? And all you have to do is look up. Floating in space, there's a small cluster of 7 stars called the Pleiades. You can spot them near the Orion belt, which I'm sure none of you know where that is, but don't worry, I don't know where it is either. Anyway, among those stars, there is a star named Merope, the very same name as our non-yellow eyes attendants. In Greek mythology, Merope is one of the 7 sisters, daughter of Atlas, the titans who hold up the sky, and Pleione, the sea goddess. All of them were beautiful, immortals, and always are together. They were known for dancing and usually accompany a goddess called Artemis during her hunts. According to the story, one day, Orion got his eyes on them and began obsessing with them. Day in and day out, he continued to chase them across the earth. Seeing how much trouble Orion became for the Pleiades, Artemis and her father, Zeus, helped them by turning them into stars, lifting them into the sky for protection. However, that did not stop Orion because he also became a constellation and eternally continued to chase them in the night sky. Okay, so now that you learn about this, the rest of the theory should make a lot more sense. Now, despite all 7 sisters becoming stars, you can usually only see 6 of them because one of them is much dimmer than the others. That dimmest star is Merope, often called the Lost Pleiades. I'm sure that many of you likely already know where I'm going with this, but what I'm trying to say is that at the time I'm making this video, there are exactly 7 Velvet Room attendants. Yes, I'm counting Justin and Coraline, and that happened to match the number of the Pleiades. So since Merope is the dimmest star in the cluster, it's actually make a lot of sense for her eyes not to grow bright yellow like the rest of her sister and brother. I forgot one guy, but yeah. This theory, of course, goes against the popular idea that Merope is a fake attendant. I think she's a real one, but with this backstory. That said though, there's more to it, because honestly, if this is the direction the dev was going with her design, I think it might be one of the most genius idea in Persona character design history. So let me explain the rest and go through multiple details that support this idea. First, the fact that Merope is the dimmest star isn't just a random trait. It's because she's the only one of the Pleiades who married a mortal. Her husband is a guy named King Sisyphus, but we don't have time for his full story today. But if you're familiar with Greek myth, he's the guy that keep pushing the boulder uphill forever. And if you're more of a Persona fan, it's probably more interesting to tell you this other story. But yeah, he's the guy who cheated death by tricking Thanatos and locking him away. Anyway, because of that, compared to her sister, who married gods and other powerful beings, Merope's light was dimmer when she becomes a star. Some even say that she was ashamed of her choice, so she hid herself away. I mean, I would probably hide myself away too if I finally got to be in a Persona game, only to find out it's a gacha version. But honestly though, overall, I don't really have a problem with gacha game. So I do think it's kind of cool, but I would not be surprised if other people see this as a little tragic, you know? Anyway, let's continue to get back on track. Back to Persona 5 actually. In Persona 5 Royal, there's a place called the Thief Dens where the player can rewatch cutscenes and get a bit extra dialogue with the characters. What's interesting here is that there are 6 golden stars hidden in the room, drawn by Jose. And at that time, there were only 6 Velvet Room attendants, which matched the number of stars, right? So what does this really mean? Well, it's mean that the idea of using star as a symbol for each attendance was already established even before P5X, which make our theory a bit more likely. That said, if everything we talk about today was actually intentional, then her design isn't just clever, it's transcend time. It worked both backward and forwards. Like, think about it. Technically, you only see 6 stars in Royal, but maybe there's actually 7, but you can't see one because it's too dim to be visible. Or if they are borrowing even more from the myth, maybe she's actually hiding herself on purpose. And like I said earlier, it's also work going forward. So if they ever add more attendants in the future, they don't have to mention Merope name in the story because she's not visible. She's the lost Pleiades, or in this case, the lost Velvet Room attendants, the one that only exists in P5X. And if that's really the case, then her design is pretty genius, right? It's tied together mythology, lore, symbolism, and it will leave room for future stories. Thanks for watching to the end, and special thanks for a few people who choose to join our member family early. You guys are the one that allow me to make this kind of video without having to worry too much about the algorithm.